Good morning, my Abbey are back. Here's the plan. It's going to be a huge week for us. I think the pool will get finished, at least as far as the competition rules are concerned. I think we'll get solar mostly installed, or maybe completely installed. There'll be a lot more stuff going on with ceilings, and there might be stuff going on again with the barbed wire around the perimeter. And there may be an interruption later in the week for our other little project. I will tell you soon, I promise. Oh my goodness, big plans. What could possibly go wrong? Tuesday morning exercise. Because of the election yesterday, there was no work day. So this morning, it looks like we're going to get the exercise. And yes, we are.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
as normal recently, Elson leading the charge.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, shoulder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Oh, Oliver looks very serious.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
This is not so serious today.
5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And we've even got William doing it.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jogging. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jump, jump. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, he did his best. Good effort from Elson today.
Birthday, engineer. Happy birthday, engineer.
Oh, not another birthday. Really? Happy birthday, Mr. Engineer. We are at the corner of the north wall and the east wall. Looks like the next step, I'm not sure actually, it looks like it's actually going to be the front wall, the east wall, which is good. It just kind of sends a message to anybody driving by. And it's really not a massive wall, if you can remember. If you've been with us a while, I'll just spin you around, take a dizzy pill. It heads over to that corner. So not a massive amount to do. At the pool, muriatic acid being applied, or in some cases reapplied. There's not much left to do. They are going to work on a couple more of the water jets. After that, we don't yet have the silica sand for the filter. That was supposed to come yesterday, but for some reason didn't. I think most of the grout, if not all of it, is done. We're going to be done, because the other things that are remaining to be done are, we are going to put a 1 to 2 metre, I think more like 1 metre, maybe 1.5 concrete slab all the way around the outside, just to try and keep some of the dirt out. But that doesn't count in the competition. We've got some lights to go on the bridge, along with the handrail. They don't count in the competition. We've got some LED lights to put under the bench seat inside the sunken seating area. They don't count. Everything else, my understanding is all connected and ready to go. It's possible it gets finished today, as far as the competition is concerned. We'll see how they get on. Inside the house, almost all the focus is on ceilings. Here we are by the stairs, another dizzy pill, more going on in the dining room, and I think a little bit more in the living room. As far as the crew are concerned, that's pretty much it for today's focus. Then we've got electrical still going in. We've had to make a decision that I didn't like today. We've had to say that because they cannot find a reliable source of Cat 6A Ethernet cable, we're going to use Cat 6 throughout. Now, there is a downside to that. On long runs, it doesn't give quite the same speed as 6A. But looking at the specifications, it should be okay. The recommended maximum length for Cat 6 is about 50 meters, and we will have a maximum run, I believe, of 30 meters. Now, where there's a lot of wires, where there's what they might term crosstalk, that will slow things down. I hope, it'll be good enough. Because trying to order Cat 6A online it from anywhere, there's no way to know when it's going to arrive. And if we keep waiting, we're going to hold them up. It'll prevent them from doing all the work on the ceilings they want to do. So, don't like it, but that's what we've decided. Later on today, this should be the site of the start of our solar power installation. No sign of the solar crew yet, however, they are coming from Manila, and so I wouldn't necessarily expect them to be here until later in the day. For the rest of their time here, their crew will be staying in some kind of accommodation nearby, so we should have them at regular hours, but late today. It's only 9 o'clock and they're here already. They've done well to get down from Manila in this time. So we're going to make a start. The estimate this morning is 3 days to install everything. I've said don't rush on our behalf, but obviously from the owner's point of view, they would like it to be done sooner rather than later. Because I imagine these guys are paid on an hourly basis, although I don't know that for sure. First step will be the panels and the inverters. The trouble is they don't have everything they need just yet. Some of it I think is arriving later today, but they're going to make a start, and I will a little bit later in the day try and show you what we've got, why we've got it, who it is that's supplying it, and why we've chosen the system that we have. Let's get it on, as they say somewhere. These are the hybrid inverters. They're from a company that I'm told is pronounced Deye, D-E-Y-E. And like virtually everything in the solar world, not quite, but a lot, it's made in China. So there are 2 of these inverters. And we'll cover this in a little bit more detail in a little while. This is the automatic transfer switch. So this will automatically switch us over between grid and solar should the need arise. If we then add a generator, apparently we then have to add an additional manual transfer switch for that. I think we will have to add a generator, although this system, in the case of a brownout, as long as it had been previously fully charged, should give us close to a day's worth of power, which is usually enough for brownouts here, but usually doesn't quite cut it. So I think we are going to add a generator as well with a second manual switch. It's only a few minutes later, panels have arrived. So the first installation is going to be the supports, the railings for the panels, then the panels themselves, then the inverters, then the batteries, and then they're kind of done. Well, they've got to put the switch in and wire it all, but that's the process they will follow. Let's talk about our solar system. The who, the what, the why, and the how much. The who is a company called SolStarix, who are based out of Manila. We chose them in the end for two reasons. Number one, because they have worked with our builder before on a prior project, maybe more than one, I'm not sure. Number two, it was extremely difficult to get other people to quote, given some restrictions that I placed. In simple terms, the restriction was that I was limiting the amount of money that the supplier could make on the purchase and sale of the key elements, the panels, the inverter, and the batteries. I actually said, you can't mark up at all, but I'm sure there was a little bit of markup in there still. But because I placed that restriction, and I gave them the option that I would buy those items, although that would have avoided any warranty that I might have had, because I placed those restrictions and I effectively cut their profit margins, a number of people fell by the wayside. Some of the bigger names here just didn't ever reply. I mean, I find it remarkable, coming from a commercial background, how many companies just don't respond to customers. And that was particularly true in the case of our search for a solar supplier. So in the end, we weren't left, honestly, with many options. This one, because of that connection to the builder, because the pricing came in about as good as I thought we could get it, which is not the cheapest out there by a long way, I'm sure, we've gone with them. The what? This was one of the most difficult things for us. Because it's a new house build, we have no idea what our electrical load really is going to be. If you've watched from the beginning, or well, more recently I suppose, you'll know that we have a lot of air conditioners in this house, and it will have a lot of other electrical devices throughout. But we didn't know for sure what that would mean in terms of our load. The only thing we could do was to send a list, which we did, of every electrical item we could think of to the suppliers and say, try and work that out. Now, how much time and effort went into that, I'm not sure. Going through the very, very long list of items that we supplied and trying to find out their power requirements would have been a lot of work. Even then, what are we really going to use? We will have 13 air conditioners in this house. I suspect we will never run 13 air conditioners simultaneously. Most of the time, it's highly likely we'll be running 1, 2, maybe 3. We'll have ceiling fans, so that'll reduce that power requirement or that cooling requirement. It's only at rare times when a lot of the family are here that we'll need to run more. And again, we have no way of knowing what that power load will be. So we left it up to the supplier. And what they've come up with is a 10.8 kilowatt system. It's a hybrid system, which means that we will use solar power when we can, and when we can't, we are grid tied. In other words, we can draw power from the grid, or we can draw power from a generator, which we will also get. Some of that will be automatic. The switch between grid and solar will be on an automatic transfer switch. The switch to a generator apparently has to be a manual switch. That's the information we've been given. But also, we have battery. So basically the panels will feed the inverters through to the batteries, and the batteries will then feed the house. We are not net metering. So net metering is where you can sell power back to the grid if you're producing more than you need. Here we've decided against it for a couple of reasons. Number one, the prices you get at the moment in the Philippines for selling back your power are way less than the price you pay to buy power. There's a lot of talk about equalizing that, but at the moment it is just talk. It apparently takes quite a long time to get net metering approved, and various people along the way have said you only ever get it approved by paying away brown envelopes. One of the biggest reasons we didn't get it was our understanding, and maybe again I'm wrong, was that if there is a brownout and you have net metering, everything will shut down, because the power companies obviously do not want you feeding power back into their system, into their grid, if they've got people working on the power lines. Now, I'm still not 100% certain that I've got this right, because it may be that the batteries would still supply power to the house. I don't know for sure. If you're doing this yourself, make sure you go and check. I couldn't get the answer that I wanted, although everybody I spoke to said yes, the system will completely shut down if there is a brownout. Now, given that one of the biggest reasons for us, well, not one of the biggest, one of the big reasons for us to have solar power is to overcome brownouts when we lose power. So to have a system where we'd spent more money, taken longer, to sell back power that isn't worth a lot, and then the system would effectively crash in a brownout, that just didn't make any sense to us. So we're not net metering. You may take a different route on that, and maybe if you're doing this a little bit further down the line, the technology may have changed to allow you to net meter and keep your power during brownouts, and maybe there has been some price equalization between the price you pay for your power from the grid and the price they pay you to sell it back. For us, we didn't feel it was a requirement. The system we got is nominally a 48 volt system, although actually, because apparently the 48 volt inverters were difficult to get, we've gone with, or the supplier has given us 51 at no extra charge. What is it we're using then? What are the components? Well, the hybrid inverters are from a Chinese company. They almost all are. If they're not from China, they're probably from Taiwan. A company called Deye. I think that's how it's pronounced, D-E-Y-E. And there will be 2 of those hybrid inverters. The panels are from a company called Canadian Solar. 24 panels, 450 watts per panel. The batteries are from, I think, another Chinese company called Merit Sun, all one word, Merit Sun. Again, there will be 2 batteries. And the code for those batteries, if it had been the 48, I've got to look at this, sorry, was the LFP 200-48. So I'm guessing what we've got is the LFP 200-51. That might not be quite right, I'll have a look later. If we have a brownout, the 10.8 kilowatt system we've got absolutely will not run everything in the house. So we've had to be a little selective about what are the priority items. And fundamentally, it comes down to only one air conditioner in the master bedroom, switches, sockets or outlets, and refrigerators. Now, we might get a little bit more than that out of it, but we don't think it'll be a lot. So we will be on limited power. And so we are definitely not an off-grid system. And it may be that further down the line, we decide we want to expand and give ourselves more power for those times when we have brownouts. But for now, we're kind of happy to live with a much reduced power capacity during brownouts, as long as we still have power capacity. The warranties on this for the solar panels are 12 years, and for the inverters are 5 years. I don't have the information to hand on the batteries. I'll try and find out. The supplier effectively warranties the whole system for 3 years, and do give an annual visit for those first 3 years for maintenance, checking, at no charge. After that, there will be a fee. Not sure how much that is, but I'm guessing unless there are major problems, it won't be very much. That's pretty much our system. It doesn't include hot water. That's a discussion we're still having with a different supplier. But that's what we hope to do, is to have a separate solar hot water heating system. How much? I hear you all cry. Well, as I say, I'm sure we haven't got the best deal in town, although when I've looked at a couple of other examples of what you might be expected to pay, maybe we've got it at a little lesser price than we thought we might. So our price, our all-in cost, was 850,000 pesos for all the materials, all the installation. At current exchange rates, the dollar is helping us right now. That's around about 16,000 US dollars. We don't know what our electricity bill would have been on that house, so it's impossible really to work out a return on that investment in terms of time. The estimate, all the estimates I see at the moment would suggest 6-year payback. My guess is that with what's going on in the world right now, energy prices are likely to keep rising, and maybe we get a little bit better than 6 years. Partly that will depend on whether any of these components do wear out. Batteries don't last forever. We do have lithium iron phosphate batteries, which I believe are significantly better than previous technologies, but they have a limited lifetime. And so we will have to replace batteries, maybe 5, 6, 7 years time. Hopefully no sooner than that. So a return, we can't tell you. For that, you would need to know what your power bill was on average over a period of time, and then convert that at whatever you paid for the system. So we can't do that. But that's what we got. Because I know so little about all of this, I've probably raised way more questions than I've given answers. I've probably got various units of measure wrong. I'm sure you'll point it out to me. Whether I've said kilowatts when I should have said watts, when I should have said amps, who knows? I know nothing about this. But hopefully that gives you some flavour of what we've done, why we've done it, how we've done it, who we've done it with, and the price. If you're going down this route yourself, maybe that gives you a few ideas of things like costs in the Philippines. If you are technologically adept, you could do what I know others have done here, and that is to build your system yourself. There's plenty of resources online. The biggest issue for me with doing that is, well, two things. Number one, I'm technologically completely inept. And number two, I wouldn't know what to buy in the first place. I wouldn't know what units, I wouldn't know what scale, I wouldn't know who to buy it from. But I know if you're prepared to take on that challenge, you can do it considerably cheaper. So that is something to bear in mind. We have a friend here who is doing exactly that. They've put their own, or in the process of putting their own system in. Wasn't something I could take on. That's our solar system. Hope it helped. If you've got questions, of course, send them to me. I will have to ask someone else for answers, but we will try and get you a response in some form or another. Good luck if you're doing it yourself. The bell's just gone. It's 4:30. And we'll go with barbed wire first. So they previously had not quite finished off this corner, and it's still not quite finished. But they have extended the not quite finished bit round to where the gate will be here. On this side, it's done. All the way across the east wall. So when they finish off those other little bits, the only sections left to do will be along the north wall from that corner over to behind the carport. And we will then have barbed wire all around the property, except with that rather large gap where the gate is. The solar installation, we'll go upstairs in a moment and see how far they've got with the panels. But while they've been doing that, there's also been work going on getting the cable run from over there, where it'll connect into the inverters and batteries, across here, and it will go in to the wall just down here on the right hand side, where the home theatre room is and where all of the other utility connections are. Ceilings, we're getting very close. Here in the living room, there's a little bit more of the plywood still to do. Next to it, the dining room, done. Obviously, in a lot of cases, there's still gypsum board to put in, but the frames, almost everywhere, now finished. What we're left with is an incomplete kitchen ceiling frame, and round the corner, the dirty kitchen, that ceiling not started yet, and the same is true of the home theatre and the gym. But everywhere else now, the frames for all the ceilings are done. Correction, all of the bathrooms, they've not started yet. The solar team got all the railings to which the panels are attached. They got all of those done, and they've got all of the panels up. So you can now see that it would have been a struggle to get a lot more onto this roof, which is why, as we've said in a previous video, if we do decide that we want to expand the system, more solar panels would have to go on the main house roof. But for what we're doing now, that's quite a nice fit. 24 panels, 450 watts each. Tomorrow, they will complete the wiring, getting all the wiring, or the cabling channel at least. That'll be done, and then they may start working on inverters and batteries, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. As is traditional on a crew member's birthday, a small celebration. Some Emperador, some Coke, and a little bit of food to end what was another blisteringly hot day. While we are taking videos from balconies, we might just as well take one from here looking at the swimming pool. With the news that the competition is over. They have done everything that was set out in the competition. Tomorrow they're going to start putting water in. There is a little bit more testing of lights, but I think that's only, I believe, that's just simply when we have power attached, just to make sure everything's okay. They've already done some testing. They've still got a few other bits and pieces that were outside the remit of the competition, but that's it. It's done. Day 202. And if memory serves, obviously it's not entirely memory, I did look earlier, we have a winner. LC Gilbert. Is it any coincidence that LC is in the business of swimming pools? Well, to be fair, I don't think anybody could have guessed or could have had any inside knowledge. There were delays in this process, other things that got in the way. But LC Gilbert, hopefully by, we think, Thursday, I may be able to show you your prize. The end of day 202. If that's not BuilDelicious, nothing is, at least in my book. The start of the solar, just a 3-day process, and we're 1 day in. The finish of the swimming pool competition. Ceilings getting very close to being done, with the exception of those bathrooms and a couple of rooms downstairs. Huge day for the build. Really, really happy with how it's gone. Tomorrow is going to be a bit different. I'll explain at the beginning of the video tomorrow. And I think I will be revealing, finally, what is this strange thing that's been going on in the background that I've alluded to but not revealed. Come back tomorrow and find out. See you then.